Probably won't work. Hey, streaming does work. How about it, folks? It's a goddamn miracle. Vikings win. Lounge 237. Go Astros. Marcus Traxler here. Charlie Hildebrand here. Hopefully the kid or the man that sired a kid nearly weeks ago will join us as well. Vikings
want to
sire.
There's going to be another kid born 9 months.
Let's see here. January. So beginning of October. Expect kid number 2 from Stacking and Wife. Vikings won 29-24. Charlie, a lot of things happened on that last play, 61-yard touchdown. Take us through all the things you thought of in the 10 seconds it took for that play to happen.
Yeah, we were talking about this a bit before we started recording. I like that you mentioned it's podcast number 237 because they had about a 1 in 237 chance of this play working out like this. But, I didn't care who won either way. I mean, I preferred the Vikings win, but was just kind of hoping it would be interesting. And I was like, well, I mean, they could get a field goal here. And, he throws it. Diggs catches it. The guy comes in from the Saints. And I was like, well, I mean, after he gets hit, he's got to find a way to get out of bounds still to stop the clock. And then when the hit just completely, the guy misses. And I don't know, we'll see if he still plays for the Saints next year. But I was like, oh, well, I mean, my first thought was get out of bounds, but then there was no one else behind him. And as he's running, I was like, oh, well, hopefully he didn't step out of bounds. And then I was like, oh, well, I mean, you got to kill enough time, though, so you go in as the clock expires and not give him another chance. And I was just, Traxler, like I was telling DeCrids earlier, I wasn't overly invested, but there's a time in games where, my mind starts clicking in, going into overdrive, and I thought of, 15 different things from about a quarter of a second until Diggs caught it, till when they scored. And I can only imagine the things going through the minds of you two gentlemen tonight.
Marcus?
Yeah.
Vikings won.
Yeah, go ahead. They won.
Best. I mean, it wasn't a great game. I mean, Vikings were up 17-0. Felt like it should have been 30-0. Defense didn't play well in the second half. Quarterback didn't play well. Had the interception. Well, that was the only touchdown, right? Yeah, because they had 2 rushing touchdowns.
The one at the end. Yeah.
So he didn't play great. But again, another game they let. I mean, you just look at the blocked punt. You look at the missed field goal. You look at. Keenum threw a terrible pass. It was intercepted. He threw another couple terrible passes that were ill-advised, but they didn't catch them. So a lot of things you could look back at and say, well, they lost because of this, this, and this, and they actually win it. And obviously, probably greatest win the franchise has ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the greatest play. I know the Vikings had an amazing Hail Mary in the 70s against the Browns. It was either in the playoffs or to get them into the playoffs.
Ahmad Rashad.
And that was obviously one of the better plays ever. The other one, as far as an improbability one, would be the Randy Moss pitch to Mo Williams, but that was at the end of the first half. That wasn't
Favre against San Francisco.
Yeah, and again, that was week 4. That was amazing too.
Yeah.
Considering the circumstances, I mean, you were mentioning Keenum, the ill-advised. I mean, he made that ill-advised throw, and I was thinking about it. He looked like Favre for a while out there, and similar to Favre to Greg Lewis, that was almost a Favrean play, and like Charlie, I was obviously a little more invested in the outcome, and I'm sitting right where I was sitting now, and I was just sweating, and I wasn't moving, I wasn't doing anything, but I was just sweating, and I kind of sat with my hands crossed a lot, not necessarily praying, but just kind of okay, you're just kind of sitting there thinking, and I thought the one thing that I kept thinking about, if we want to talk about if you want me to talk about the last play or before the last play.
Whatever the fuck you want to talk about.
Okay, all right. I didn't know. Okay. Before that last play, when the Saints had the ball, it was driving me nuts that the Vikings couldn't rush they couldn't rush the pass.
It was so quick getting it out. I mean, Breeze, 1-2.
I know.
It was so goddamn.
But it was just, I couldn't believe that the Vikings, especially with the crowd and stuff, they just couldn't get to them. And, they had that 4th and 10, and they converted that. And then
that was big. Oh, yeah. That was, that's, we're going to look back at it. And that was 50 seconds left. You stop them there. Boom. Game.
And I had Lutz in fantasy this year. I knew he was pretty good.
That's, we're going to look back at it. And I was like, what? Yeah, that's you go. That's me doing stuff.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
Be
let's
careful
see.
over there.
Yeah, I'm trying to post it so fuckers can watch this. Lutz made the kick.
And then, they get the ball back, and I thought they had the right idea in a couple of those skills, but, kind of like Keenum had said, they just weren't clicking on them. And it was interesting, the play before, they kind of showed the replay, and they had, two safeties or two defensive backs, like, playing 5 yards inbounds, forcing everything in the middle. And that was one where I think it was either Jiggs or Jarius Wright was, like, wide open in the middle, but with 12 seconds left, no timeouts, you can't throw it there. And, like Charlie, I just thought when Diggs caught that, he had to get out of bounds. And I'm glad he was smart enough to just turn upfield and start running. And when he caught it, he had 4 seconds. It was enough time to get out of bounds. But I was just kind of amazed that there was nobody behind him. And that's like a 15, 20-yard throw. And they had it looked like they were trying to defend the field goal. And I was just shocked that, one, there was nobody behind him. And then there was nobody, like, running over on the last play either to, like, stop him at the goal line or was even in the picture. And, maybe they were just in shock that he caught it too. But, I was jumping up and around and screaming. So
I did the opposite. I went to my knees. I didn't jump. I went, fuck, they won. Charlie's timeline. Here's how my timeline went. Okay, I got 10 seconds. I mean, this is the last play here to get a field goal. You need to get to the 40 to get a 58-yard field goal here. And he was like right at, 40-yard line. Would have set up a 50.
Yeah, he was between the 40 and the 35, yeah.
Would have set up a 50-plus yard field goal, which, decent chance to make it. But we don't know what's going to happen, which is good. And then he caught it. I'm like, all right, and get out of bounds and kick a field goal, see what happens. And then he gets past him and then he, don't trip. He goddamn near trips. And that'd be the fucking way to lose. And then boom, by the time he's at the 25, 30-yard line, you can see there's nobody there. And he's going to score. So they did.
And the other, I don't mean to interrupt, sorry.
That's
but the other thing was, like, watching it live, I knew right away he didn't step out of bounds.
Yeah.
That was, like, the one thing I was sure of. I'm like, there's no way and then, they're reviewing that part. And I was just like, he didn't step out of bounds. I was worried about the other aspects, like you said, him falling down or him getting out of bounds. But, yeah, I knew right away that it was going to count,
I didn't know that I didn't think he stepped out of bounds. But when they said it was under review, I just had this flash where I was like, oh my God, they're going to have to bring the kicker out, and he's going to have to make a field goal after that. And just nobody in the stadium is going to expect him to make it again. But who knows if he would have or not. Fortunately, that did not happen. That didn't work out that way.
I'm very happy for Kai Forbath, the fact that he made that kick earlier in the game, or, with a minute 30 to go. I realize it didn't end up being the game winner, but, there were so many people on Twitter just anticipating that being the spot where it wouldn't go. And I fell victim to it, too. You're just kind of like, I think in some ways it helped that he missed the kicks earlier, because you're like, okay, he's got to figure it out. And he did. So, nothing saying he's not going to miss a couple next week, because that certainly could happen. But he made the one that counted, I guess.
Missed field goal, blocked punt, and the interception were those 3 plays that if they would have lost, you look back on and say,
the block punt was the one where I'm just like, that shouldn't have happened.
No,
blocked punt by a guy from Rutgers that was also almost blocked by Taysom Hill, former BYU quarterback. Yeah. And when that's happening to you in an NFL game, things aren't going.
They tried to give Taysom Hill all the fucking credit, but it was this Johnson guy in the middle who made the.
Apparently, that Johnson guy played for the Vikings. I've never heard of him.
Who the fuck is it? Defensive tackle guy?
Johnson. I think they said Gerald Johnson. He must have been a training camp guy or something.
A guy from Rutgers?
And then Gerald Hodges, a former Viking, was the guy that caught it.
Zach Line was a fullback. He's on the team too.
It would be bad if that's how it ended. You have a couple former Vikings, getting it too. So I can smile about it now. I would say that if they would have lost, I'm not sure I'm doing this show right now. So I don't know if anybody believes this, but it's just kind of like given the Vikings history and how many.
I mean,
bad
you got to
things
win it
that
now. If
happened
you don't
to
win
him.
it now, then fuck you.
It feels
Fuck
it feels like, okay, now you've, it's got to happen now. You know, you had an improbable play happen, a miracle, and it was, I mean, what a thrilling play. I mean, for somebody, I talked to my dad at halftime. We were talking about, you know, how great the game was going, 17-0. That was probably a bad idea, but I was happy to share a happy phone call with him after the game as
What
well.
did Doug think after the game?
Well, he just kind of used, you know, a lot of the same thoughts I had. You know, just that it worked out. You know that, and I think a lot of people, you know, especially in the Twin Cities, there's just been a lot of momentum around this team. People getting excited, so it's good that they've got that for another week. I know Dad likes Keenum, and he liked the Players Tribune thing that Keenum had on Friday, talking about how he's been, you know, sort of embraced by the community, and you know, it looked bleak there for a while. I told Dad that I was more worried about him just his heart being okay more than anything, you know, and apparently Evan, my brother, was jumping around. My mom was in disbelief. So if the Vikings are fortunate enough to win next week, there's a good chance I will probably watch the Super Bowl with my dad and
Gotta go home.
my brother. So
Gotta go home.
yeah, I mean, I might as well. So if that happens, I'm excited for that to be the case. So.
Fully prepared to. I was ready for the loss. I think we talked last week. Okay, how is it gonna? You know, I was thinking. You look at field.
It was so close to that happening.
Oh,
like,
man.
Keenum,
I mean, the way just
and like, I'm not saying this in like, oh, you guys should be disappointed or anything like that. I mean, obviously,
it went exactly how you thought it would go.
Take what you get when you can win, because that's all that matters in the playoffs. But like, it was so close to being so much worse.
It was textbook Vikings. Textbook. It was classic.
They had it one time in the fourth quarter where they showed the last 4 drives, and it was like block punt, pick, missed field goal. And the way they kind of phrased it, it was like they missed a field goal in the third quarter too. And I'm like, wait a minute, did they miss it? You know, it was almost like I was adding more pain onto what had already happened. I'm like, they didn't miss 2 field goals now, did they? And like I had maybe missed it, and that's kind of how you kind of psych yourself out a little bit when you're watching the Vikings and the way that sort of unfolded.
Like, if they would have lost this one, this would not have ranked over the other 2 terrible losses.
No.
Because I mean, if you're not prepared for this, then you don't know what the fuck's going on. And I mean, field goal, 30 seconds left. You're like, well, they do got one timeout left, and they need 35 yards for a field goal. And
it's just kind of weird that with Keenum, like, I had some faith that he could get him into field goal range. It's kind of.
He was throwing a lot of high balls. Thielen made some good catches, balls that were. You need your receivers to go up and get them.
How many times did he throw off his back foot, rolling out, and just kind of like a duck hanging in the air? Were you guys just like, what the F are you doing right now? And like 2 of them it ended up working, but man, there were some where the ball's floating in the air, and here's Thielen surrounded by 3 Saints guys, and it's like, this doesn't have high odds.
That one to Thielen on the field goal drive, I thought was going to get picked, and then he pulled it down. You know, just when it came out of his hands, I'm like, that feels like it's going to get picked. So, yeah. And I would say, since we have a little time to think about it, I thought the play calling before the field goals for both teams was kind of weird.
At the time, watching the Vikings go down there for the field goal, they 2 minutes left. They're at the 40 or whatever. They got plenty of time out.
They're throwing incomplete passes.
You need that clock to. Thankfully, they didn't do what we probably want. I want them to. It was 1st and 10 from the Saints 40, with about a minute 40 to go. I would have ran the ball there, get that clock rolling, because you don't want to leave time. They left time, and that's what happened when you leave time. So yeah,
they only gained 5 more yards. They had Rudolph, and that set up 3rd and 5.
And Rudolph got out of bounds. So.
Right, and then they kicked it, and they made it, but you're just kind of sitting there with a minute 29 left, and that's too much time for Breeze. We all know that. And then, it was kind of the same way with the Saints. They ran it, didn't get it. 3rd and 1. I thought they'd be more aggressive, considering how aggressive they had been earlier in the game. and they ran it and got stopped. I was actually pretty confident the Vikings would stop them there. You get the field goal, and thankfully the Vikings had their timeouts to take them there and force that kick, and he made it. So it was just, it probably was played out right, but I think that's going to end up kind of being an underrated part of the game there.
Yeah, if the Vikings run it on 1st and 10 at the 40, maybe the Saints use their last time out, maybe they don't. Just maybe if they stop them there, they probably don't. If the Vikings get 5 or 10 yards, they probably use that time out there to save some time. So who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Or maybe they just concede the fact that, okay, this is going to be the game winning kick. Right here. They're going to run it down and then ice them or whatever, and whatever they think the strategy should be there.
Haven't looked at a box score. What Keenum had 3 something. I said to Sacken during the show, which I didn't upload this week, but I will on Monday. I said to him, show me Keenum's stats, and then we'll see if they win or not. And if he told me he would have thrown, what was he, like 20-something of 37, like 23 of 37 for 320, a touchdown and an interception, I probably would have said they would have lost. Because interception, if Keenum's thrown for 320, that's probably not good. I mean, they had Roethlisberger's stats up there. He's like, 0-7 when he throws for like over 275 in the playoffs, or when he throws more than he's like when he throws more than like 34 passes in the playoffs, are like 3-10 or some number.
The Super Bowl numbers have been relatively low as far as yardage goes, I believe. Mm-hmm. So
more passes doesn't always equal better game.
I don't remember the exact numbers, like you said. I didn't look at the box score, but they showed the numbers before that last drive, and they weren't that good, like you said. I'll pull them up, though, here for the run.
Oh, yeah. Charlie, what... Charlie.
Texas is back, too.
Huh?
Texas is back.
Oh, goddamn. Good. That sounds good. Good.
It seems better.
Charlie, I don't know how much you saw.
It's there. It's quiet. It's not as bad as normal, but it is kind of there.
That better? Chuck?
Yes. Check.
Check 2, check 1.
Mike 1, 2.
I think it's good.
I don't know, Charlie, how much you saw.
Yeah. For the record here, Keenum 25 of 40, 318, one touchdown, 1 INT, sacked twice. I didn't like how much they were pressuring Keenum either. The offensive line is a concern here going forward.
I don't know how much, Charlie, you saw the Vikings all year. I mean, defense first half was fucking lights out. Second half, not good. Keenum, he's all right. All right, running backs are okay. Thielen was good. What did you think? How much had you seen of the Vikings, and what did you think of what you saw?
I had seen them this year, but almost exclusively I'd watched Red Zone before the playoffs. So this is the first time I've seen them from start to finish. And one of the things that stuck out to me, especially defensively, is it's just like, they don't have like 1 or 2 good players. Like they've just got dudes, and like you need that if you want to be good. I don't know if they're like an all-time good defense, but they're certainly their defense is good enough to win the Super Bowl. In the first half, I was more optimistic about their offense and stuff, where I was kind of like, yeah, their offense is pretty good too. The second half, it was a little more, I was like, yeah, I mean, they're still good, but... And then they kind of started looking like they were going to blow it, and I was just like, oh, well, they need to fix something. And then obviously, just a few minutes later, it was like, oh, yep, I guess they're going to Philadelphia, where I'm sure they will be favorites in Las Vegas and to everyone outside of Philadelphia, and have a good chance of playing at home in the Super Bowl. Just a very odd situation that you couldn't have scripted dramatically better if you tried.
I'd like to follow up on what Charlie said about the defense. They mentioned sort of on the broadcast, they're kind of, introducing the defense, I think, for people who maybe haven't followed them. And they do kind of have like a spine of really great players, I think. Maybe not all-timers or anything, but...
Vikings are a 3.5-point favorite right now.
For next week?
I locked the Eagles in at 4.5, so let's do this again next week. Yes.
The Vikings favored by 4.5 next week?
Well, they had the early. I mean, they had Saints were 2.5 2-point favorite. Eagles were, Vikings were up to 4.5 yesterday. So I locked in Saints minus 2.5. I locked in Eagles plus 4.5 before we even knew the fucking game was. So that's what I got going on next week.
I would say, defensively, like Charlie said, you just have a lot of really good players. I think, Kendricks and Barr, you see them flying all over the field. Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin's kind of become,
Griffin's so good he doesn't even need to see the quarterback to knock and deflect the pass. Doing it with his back is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Your watch all year, Xavier Rhodes ended up being an all-pro guy, and you just
Harrison
take
Smith.
him for granted.
I think Harrison Smith is the best safety. I think he's like one of the 5 best players in the NFL.
I would agree with that. Yeah, he's definitely the best. I would say the best safety.
He's like, all right, can he make the Hall of Fame now? If he puts get together another 5 good years, it's like, all right, he's like that. He's like that good.
Different era, but Paul Krause put together like 10 solid years, and that's he's in the Hall of Fame. So I don't know if that's enough to get it done, but
and he didn't even make the Pro Bowl this year. I think everybody was all pro. So what are we doing? What are we doing?
Pro Bowl's dumb.
All
the guys
pro.
get their incentives, I think, for the all pro stuff.
Like I don't even understand how that's possible. That's just insane.
Do they still have the fans vote on it? I don't even know.
I don't even know what it. Yeah, but he was an all pro, so that's good. Yeah, defense. It's like everybody's good. Linebackers good. Defensive line good. Secondary's good. Seemed like Rhodes every other week leaves the game for a period of time, but always comes back. Rhodes did okay. Michael Thomas got him a couple times right there. Looked like he got a little frustrated. Sendejo made a great interception before he died. So rest in peace, Sendejo. Hopefully he can be back next week. I don't know how much that played into Vikings' pass defense not playing very well after he left, but I'm sure it didn't help.
Felt like there should have been a penalty there, but
I
whatever.
thought officials were good. I thought clean hit. I was fine with that.
The Vikings got some calls in that first half.
I liked every interference. Charlie, what did you? I liked every interference call. I thought, all right, there wasn't really one call that sticks out.
There was one fairly early that was called against the Saints that I thought was maybe, I'm not saying it was bad, but maybe a little ticky-tack. But other than that, I nothing really stuck out to me about the officiating.
Yeah.
It was as good as you would hope for in a playoff game.
Thoughts?
I'm watching the Wolves right now, and like 70% of the fans are wearing their Viking shit. Yeah, they're watching their Viking. They got their Viking shit on. That's what they care about. So.
Also, real quick on the Vikings defense, we were talking about how they're really good, which they clearly are. It just shows how difficult it is to win in the playoffs. I thought they got what they needed out of their offense in the first half. Maybe not everything you would want in the second half until the very end when you really needed it. But it just shows that you can play really well on defense at home and still give up 20 points. And it's you still need to do stuff on offense too, even with a fantastic defense. Just how hard it is to win if you're not good offensively. And I'm not saying the Vikings are bad offensively, but you think about the Bears and just plenty of other teams that didn't win a Super Bowl with loaded defenses, because it's there was that one game where they gave up 17 points, but their offense could only muster 13, so they lost. And when you're going against a Hall of Fame quarterback like Breeze, so I think it's safe to assume the Vikings don't have to worry about playing a Hall of Fame quarterback next week.
That's a shock.
But they might the 2 weeks after that. When you're playing Hall of Fame guys, you can do stuff right, and it's still just they're slowly stabbing you, or it's just I don't know how they keep moving the ball. It's not fair that they're this good.
There was the missed field goal. That's 3 points. There was another field goal that was made. What were they in the 5-yard line that you need a touchdown there? So that's another 4 points. That's 7. I thought it should have been 24-0 at the half. Again, they were just dominating them in that first half. Then, like Charlie said before we started, once it was 17-14, I was like, all right, well, fuck.
Yeah, that wasn't good. that wasn't when it got to that point. And then wasn't the punt blocked after that? So.
Then they had a pretty good drive. Vikings, all right. There were about, 10 minutes left, and like they have a drive going, and all right, if they can put together I think they just got a field goal, but like if they get a touchdown here, they're up 10. That's pretty good.
Yep.
They end up getting a field goal, so they're up 6. And then Kamara makes a good catch. Kendricks, he was on him. On not much else you can do there. Just a good throw and a good catch. And then last 3 minutes, I think each team scored twice.
I think I saw 4 lead changes in the last 3 or 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Saints scored their touchdown.
I think Corinne's mentioned it earlier. Like, I don't know if I would say this was a great game.
Good finish.
Certainly a great last 5 minutes, though.
Good little, yeah. I mean,
I know Joe Buck isn't loved by everybody.
That's a good
call. Despises Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But I thought he made a good point, like, early in the fourth quarter. He's like, this is supposed to be the closest game of the weekend, and up until now, it hasn't been. But that was right when, they were about to, tighten things up. And then they had the lead changes late. I think if you're like Charlie or you're a neutral observer, I mean, it was a great finish to the game, just the back and forth. And it was tough to watch for me, but if you're neutral, it was a great finish.
Well, it was even tough for me to watch at times where it was just like, one of these teams is going home, and they're really going to be sad afterwards. And I mentioned to Crins, like, there were a couple times I was just like, oh, man, Crins and Traxler and Stacken, they're going to be, especially when it was like, when the Saints got the touchdown to take the lead, and then when they kicked the field goal to take the lead, I was just, like, the field goal, I was like, yeah, we're probably not even going to have a podcast tonight.
I just want to mention that Charlie tweeted to all of us the video of the final play with the Titanic, and Stacken was mad that it was from the Titanic. So just imagine what it would have been like for Stacken if they would have lost.
Here it is.
Instead, he's drinking the Saints Bud Light can tonight. So good for Stacken.
Yeah, we're gonna
tastiest Bud Light Stacken's ever drank to this point.
I mean, knowing Stacken the Steelers one is probably pretty good too. So I'll give him that.
True.
Charlie, you said you could hear when I played the audio and stuff.
Yeah.
So Stacken, wife Stacken, who's a great wife, took the video here of him drinking this thing from 4 minutes ago. So it's a 20-second video. We'll see what old Stack Attack has to say here.
1, 2, 3. Hey, Saints, do you dig this? Oh, look at that. Saints, you're going down?
He's chugging that.
So good. Bud Light never tasted so good. Dilly, we're on to Philly.
Look at him go. Look at that son of a bitch go.
I'll give Stacken some credit for that.
I like Stacken. Man, he is petty when it comes to sports, though.
He really digs the knife in. He digs it in deep.
4 minutes ago, it definitely took him the hour and 30 minutes after the game to think up those lines for the.
He did forget to.
Billy and that definitely took him 90 minutes.
I would have said "fuck you, Saints" is what I would have said. Marcus, he'll drink his water.
Did he stone cold slam it? I mean,
no, he took a sip and that was about it. They did get the 3-2-1 countdown in there, so that's not ideal at the beginning. Yeah. So we got to cut that out. But yeah, he loves his Bud Light can with the fucking team logo on there. He should join pretty soon, so we'll see what he has to say. And boy, if it isn't the fucking man himself.
Look at that, right on time.
Second, congrats on your child being born 9 months from today.
Case Stephon Glenn Stacken is going to be very, very happy. If it is another boy, we have already decided it is Case Stephon. So Glenn, because we have to make sure that Kobe's grandpa gets in there. So it's going to be Case Stephon Glenn Stacken. It's already a done deal.
Drunk Stacken joins us once again. What is it?
Go fuck yourself.
That's what I said.
Go with the GEAUX.
Prime Stacken. I think we're in for a prime Stacken episode here. I
got a drink here. I got a drink here. And Noah will be making. We got a special guest appearance. I'm not going to say who it is, but I already said it. Someone will be making a special appearance.
Lounge 237. Who?
yourselves, Breeze.
Again, Marcus, this will be the tape I send to the Academy to get Stacking the award for
your consideration.
For your consideration,
For this-
Lounge. Remember, it'll be etched in your brain. Lounge 237. This one's.
Is this best supporting actress?
No, this is the
or
main deal.
actor?
This is main deal.
By the way,
This is-
Charlie, that goddamn Titanic song, fuck that.
It's only the
Second,
greatest.
I don't understand how you can see that after what happened, and like anger or disappointment is what comes from your mind.
You're talking about like the greatest play in Vikings history, and you do a shit movie with a shit song. That's just not. That's not fair.
It's only
It's
the
the
second
greatest
highest grossing movie of all time.
Well,
It's the greatest
terrible.
play. It's the greatest play in Vikings history. Literally nothing can ruin it. So, I'm fine. I like it more with the basketball, but I'm glad Charlie posted it.
It's a lot
we-
better.
we
It's a lot better
can't complain
than.
about it.
It's a lot better than One Shining Moment. I'll give you that right there.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you. God, that's awful.
This is prime
I'm
Stacking.
sorry, I'm a potty mouth.
That's fine.
This
Well,
is not.
again,
this
we
is not
played.
how I want. There was a lot of F-bombs today. A lot of F-bombs.
I can hear that.
Like you were what was it? Two minutes after we played your little video that the wife took up there, and I expected a big "fuck you, Saint," but you saved that for our show. So we think.
No, I did say that. I did say that, and Kelsey said I can't post
Oh,
this
come
on
on, come on.
Facebook. There is one. I'll see if we can get
The
that
church
here.
could see it. The church could see it if you put
Can't
it on
let that
Facebook.
church happen. Can't let the
My
church happen.
pastor is a Packers fan.
Well, he's that son of a
you know
bitch that that married you.
Travis and Charlie know this firsthand. He put on a cheesehead during when he officiated our wedding.
He did.
That's right, I forgot about that. Bold move on his part.
He said he wants to do the baptism and bring out the cheesehead again. So as long as you don't bring out a bison, that's all that I care about.
Like, you realize that you're allowed to switch churches also. You're not required to go to that one. You can be like, you know what, we're going to go to a different one, guy.
That's fair, but I like this shirt. Anyway, let's get on to the sport.
I mean, you got a lot of cans there. You can do a lot of things over the years with graphics in the cans, and you can set them up and take pictures of them and say, I think the Viking schedule, and you line up all of those cans, say, week 2, it's going to be the Panthers. Week 4, it's the Ravens. They're going to play the Bears week 17. And you can take a picture of the Vikings, and you can take a picture of their schedule with all those goddamn cans.
Stacking,
Yeah,
what you need
I
to
agree.
do, if the Vikings win the Super Bowl, you need a picture or something, some kind of like artisanal thing of like every week who the Vikings played. And if they lose, the can's just normal. But if they win the Super Bowl, they will have won most of their games. And if they win, the can's stomped and crushed, so you can still kind of see the logo. And then there's your, here's the run to the Super Bowl.
But how am I going to do that for the Bears and the Packers?
Well,
I don't know,
you do some, maybe buy another 32 pack.
They're in existence. I really hope, and I would like to see them do it for the NBA and the NHL and Major League Baseball as well. Let's keep going with this.
And college football.
Yes. I want to stop.
130 pack.
I want college basketball because did you
340 pack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go, Budweiser.
Alabama A&M's never tasted better.
You know what? Mississippi
I've ever had.
I assume if Vikings win this whole deal, you're never going to drink that one can.
No, I'll drink it.
No.
He's going to drink it. He's going to drink it.
But he's going to drink it while he's at the parade in Minneapolis, celebrating in the parade.
Oh, I'll be sleeping on the bench park that night. I don't care if frostbite. I've been toes the next day. I'm going to that parade. Dilly dilly.
Reminder: this is
I
only
can't believe you're that confident.
this is a reminder. This is only a goddamn divisional fucking playoff game, for Christ's sake. They got.
You would think it was a Super Bowl.
You think it was? So hopefully they win next week. I didn't get any of that.
It's even funnier because Stacken's been drinking, so it was super slowed down, so it made it even more dramatic.
No, I just said, does this ever happen in Minnesota sports?
No. Greatest finish they've ever had. This is the best win franchise has ever had. It's not even to get to the Super Bowl yet.
In Minnesota sports stacking, come on, there was the Kirby Puckett home run,
See?
and then they shut down the Braves offense that one year in the early 90s that I don't remember specifically.
91.
But there was that still.
So next to that, this has to be the best play in Minnesota sports history.
Yeah.
Are you selling the
I'm going to say, selling short. I just don't remember any killer. There are 5 championships. Maybe it's only 4.
What?
Whatever it is.
All right. We kind of talked about it here. They're driving down. Give us what the hell was the stacking household like? Wasn't great. Saints score with minimal time left. They have a timeout. They need to get 35 yards for a long field goal.
After the Saints make the field goal to take the lead, who's stacking blaming at the time?
Quarterback.
My father-in-law, Todd, because he's like, I just want a close game going into the fourth quarter. Like, God damn it, I don't want a close game. I don't want to pull for the Vikings. Why you ask? And it just kept saying, like, why? Why are we asking for a close game here? And I go, oh my God, Kai Forbath kicks the field. I'm like, you do realize there's a minute and 4 left, right? In the same out. Like, I've seen this script before. I said when Forbath missed the field goal at the end of the first half, said that field goal is going to come back on them. Like, you need, especially against Drew Brees. Dilly.
You had the interception, the block punt, the missed field goal. Those are the 3 plays.
I mean, it was a terrible pass. But it was the same Adam Thielen on that play that he interfered with. Threw to Diggs when that intercepted. There wasn't good. And he just missed it a little left. So I'm not going to completely blame it. He had that opportunity because Case Keenum got booked and 15-yard penalties. So all things considered, I'm not going to blame Kai Forbath for this one, but there's pandemonium in the stacking household at Emory. Like, guys are really just listening to Joe Buck call because know what the hell was going on. I'm up in the air. I don't even know what the hell happened. So, you know what? Dilly, that's all I got to say.
It was a very good moment. There were a lot of screams in this house. A couple of people were over unexpectedly, which was fine. And
I'm surprised we haven't gotten a noise tonight.
The
neighbors.
The one lady said, "Well, how about they just score a touchdown here? Fuck the field goal." I'm like, that'd be goddamn great. And what do you know? They just do that. They fuck the field goal and say, not knowing how improbable a goddamn touchdown is with 25 seconds to go and you're at the 25-yard line. So they won. What a deal. Any final thoughts there, Stack? I mean, the quarterback, I said to you, and I'm sure we'll talk again in a day or two, show me the quarterback stats, and we'll see if they won the game. And I would say, you probably don't want them throwing 40 times. That tells me that they were probably down since they're throwing so much. And the one touchdown and 60 of his 300 and whatever yards came on that last play. So Keenum was, again, first, it was just first half, the defense was amazing in the first half. And second half, it was the complete opposite. So hopefully they're just more consistent next week.
Well, if you look at it, I agreed with their second possession, throwing it first down, and then when it's Kyle Rudolph with a third and goal at the 2, just run it.
The fades were bad.
No, the fades were not very good. They were not good. Keenum taking a sack on the first play of the first round of the third quarter. That come on a field goal range, that huge play. I think people kind of forget about that, but you easily attempt a field goal, got enough 20 to nothing. Or if they get him down on the punt, huge do it. And goes to the one. I mean, I sign him after this game. I get one play that and ties it and make you sign, but I'm done with Teddy. And Mark's done with this show as well. Yes, I'm done with Teddy. I'm writing Case the entire rest of the way. This is not a fluke. This is not a fluke. I'm disappointed by the defense, but arguably Dale went out. It's good about that. What Mar Steffen happens, or like what his injury looks like, but like a Nick Easton-esque. So that's not good. Hope for the defense. Can play better next week. I'm disappointed in half effort, but overall, what they needed to do, and they're going to the NFC Championship game, and that's all I could ask for. And unlike 09, when I said I want just the NFC Championship game with Brett, that was going to make it a success season, get into the NFC Championship game. I'm not about this year. I sure wanted this NFL round as badly anything I can remember for. I'm expecting an NFC Championship victory against the Eagles, who, if they can, successfully four RPOs, which aren't difficult to figure out. I think the Vikings are going to walk into Philly and get that victory, and they're going to be playing at home in the Super Bowl.
Your internet's a little choppy. It got a little better there at the end. We understood most of it.
That's why Texas is back. I had to briefly leave because Stacking was cutting out.
My bad. You mean repeat that?
No, I mean we got the gist of it there. You're all on Keenum. You're on Keenum now, and
yep.
Perhaps maybe we get a quarterback that's not Keenum, Bridgewater, or Bradford. We get Kirk Cousins or somebody entirely who's a lot better than all of them. That'd be
just for fun. Did you guys know that Drew Brees is going to be a free agent for next year? So maybe
sign
Drew Brees.
him up. Sign him up. That'd be fine with me.
Okay, I'm trying to be realistic here because I'm Kirk Cousins, but I mean,
is anybody getting this?
Yeah, it's a little choppy. It's not good, Stacking. It's not good. Leave and come back. See, leave and come back. See what happens there. Stacking thinks they're going to win next week. Marcus, what do you think happens?
I think they'll win. Part of it is just fate at this point. I mean, I can't believe anything else. It's going to be a grinder of a game. It's going to be kind of like this one. I think first to 21 is going to win. If anybody can get to 21. I think it's going to be close. The Eagles' defense is good. If they were able to, I don't know. I didn't get to watch a ton of the Falcons game with a lot of Hanson Classic basketball on Saturday, but I would say that it's just going to be a grind. And defensively, the Eagles are pretty good. Vikings' defense is pretty good. So if they can find a way to get any sort of running game going against the Eagles, I think the Vikings will be all right. And I think sort of following up on what Stacking said, I mean, they have to. I hope Sendejo's all right. The Shamar Stephen thing could be bad.
I mean, that's fine. He doesn't matter to me. So that's fine.
Right.
If somebody had to get hurt, I'm sure it was this guy. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hope Sendejo's back. If it's a concussion, you hope
he'll be back.
Make it back. So yeah, you just have to have some faith. I mean, I don't know. I did have a glimmer of hope on that last play that they would get a field goal, and they got a touchdown. So I'll take it. I'm just gonna keep. I mean, it's just a great night to be a Viking fan. You don't get that a lot in the playoffs.
No, you don't.
To echo what Traxler said about the Vikings and their defense and playing in Philly, I agree with all of that. And I would also add in, you get the bonus of not having to play a Hall of Fame quarterback next week.
Yeah.
Charlie,
I'm not scared of Foles. Not scared of their passing.
I mean, it's not a given, but I feel confident Foles is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
He's going all out, folks.
Now we're talking.
Born, here he is. Noah Stacking. What was it December 16th? December 13th.
December 6th.
December 16th. Noah Stacking. Middle name, Noah Nathan Stacking. There he is, folks.
Noah Nathan. Yep.
The pride of Fargo right there. His damn little Viking thing.
Yep.
There it is, kid, with the music and all. Hello. We like Stacking wife, the best of all the wives.
She did a lot of the work, so she should probably get things.
That's right. Nice little Stacking family we got there.
Very good. What's his record now? What's his record? 3-0? 4-0?
Let's not jinx it here, but he's 4-0.
4-0.
4-0.
Noah Stacking. Any thoughts for Noah Stacking here? Eagles, Vikings. Hopefully you can look back at this years from now and say, don't shit your pants if you think the Vikings are winning.
He's already shit his pants earlier, so.
Oh, good. As long as he didn't now, good.
That was a great game. It was for excitement, right?
Exactly.
Right?
What a deal. He can look back at these games and say, damn it to hell, I was there. I don't remember it, but I was there. Here he is, folks. The future of the lounge. Palm that head. Palm that head.
You can't see me, but I'm giving a giant 2 thumbs up for the Lion King.
Do the George Brett. The George Brett. Very nice. Non-committal at this point, whether he wants to stay or go. One of the great moments of time right there. Really is. Really was.
Look at this. Look at his burp rag.
Look at that.
Like,
shouldn't that be a Packer thing? Shouldn't that be a Packer thing? Honestly?
What's that?
Shouldn't that be a Packers Bison thing? You can spit up on that.
Well,
ideally.
I've never understood that. You're gonna give him diapers
and Bison in the house, so.
You're gonna give him diapers of something that
Fair
you
enough.
would want soiled and gross.
Fair enough. Really, I don't know, Marcus. To me, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in the lounge history.
I would agree, and I think part of it is there was a lot of anticipation. This has been talked about for some.
The music made it. The music made it.
That's right. I agree. I mean,
above and
nice
beyond.
little family Stacking's got there. This has been a big night. That you've got a lot of excitement. Stacking, I gotta agree with you. I think you maybe hinted at it a week or two ago. This generation of Twins Vikings fans. I was only a couple months old when the Twins won in '91. Maybe you got something there with Noah as well. So that'd be a great thing.
I was born just after the Twins win in '87, so
There you go.
we're kind of banking on this here.
Hold on, so are you guys saying that you want all of your offsprings to have unprotected sex early on because that will lead to more championships?
You got to give it a chance, right? I mean, that's if that's going to help do the job, I guess you got to give it some consideration.
I think you just got to tempt fate. I mean, I don't think we're asking for children to have children at the age of 14. I certainly am not hoping for that.
I'm not being
That's
greedy
1,000%
either.
what I was saying, but
I know,
I'm just
but I
asking, I was being sarcastic. But
I'm just asking for a championship with every kid. Is that too much to ask? I mean,
Nope, it is not. It is not at all. Dilly dilly.
also, just so you know, Stacking, your Timberwolves are up 14 at halftime.
Yeah.
And the Wild are tied at one.
the
Did you
Pups.
see that little girl freaking out when
Yeah.
she saw the
That was great.
touchdown?
That was great.
So, Marcus, you
Like,
think...
I can only imagine what it's like being in the XL Energy Center right now or the Target Center. You're like, whoa, if the Timberwolves or the Wild lose tonight, big fucking deal because the Vikings won in dramatic fashion.
I made the remark earlier that they're showing the crowd at this Wolves game, and it's about 70% purple in the crowd. Everybody's wearing the Viking stuff. So
Weird statement. I kind of feel bad for the players because if I was a fan there,
Nobody
I would just
cares
be
about
like,
the
I don't even care about this game right now because I just want to bask in the glory of a playoff win.
Well, did you see Damian Lillard's reaction? He's like, oh, what the hell happened? Apparently he's a closet Saints fan.
They had some tweets from the Wild game, and apparently that was when it was coming down to the nitty gritty. So the arena was like a quarter full, and everybody's watching it in the concourse as they're doing the starting lineups. And then there's this huge roar, and the fan, or the Parisi and these other guys on the bench, they got no idea what's going on, but they hear this weird cheer. So that's a pretty good way of wrapping that sucker up.
Marcus thinks they're going to win. Stacking thinks they're winning. Charlie, what say you?
Like the whole thing or just next week?
1 week at a time.
Next week, I think they're going to win next week. I think it will be. I don't think they're going to blow out Philadelphia. I don't think it's going to be as nail-biting down to the wire as this
Oh,
week.
sir.
I think Super Bowl-wise, then I think all bets are off then. I'm thinking like a 7-point win where they force the Eagles to punt it with 3.5 minutes left deep in their own territory, and like Minnesota gets 2 first downs to salt away the win.
I will say that I was far more concerned. I was worried about the Saints starting on Monday. In fact, I have an ulcer, and I need to go in for at least a full body scan to make sure that I have not suffered a heart attack or a stroke tomorrow. So
Your left side's a little droopy. I got to be honest.
What's that?
The left side of your body's a little droopy.
Well, that's very true. Stroke.
All right, I have a new favorite moment in
Yeah, I think it's that one now.
I was just channeling my inner Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
Good.
But anyway, I don't even remember what I was going to say. That's the first.
You were
sign of
very
stroke,
concerned
right?
about the Saints. You had an ulcer and your dick didn't
Oh
work.
yeah. So I was far more concerned about the Saints than I am either the Eagles or the Falcons. But losing Sendejo and most likely Stefan for sure, and most likely Sendejo for next week does concern me a little bit, because I thought Mackenzie Alexander had a terrible game tonight, and the Vikings won in spite of him. I don't know why they didn't blitz Drew Brees more in the fourth quarter, but
He just got rid of it so goddamn quick.
I know, but don't play 10 yards off of them,
Yeah,
or
it's
like
okay.
off the wide receivers. I mean, that's bad. So I would say I think the Vikings will beat the Eagles, but I do think the defensive injuries are a cause for concern. I really do.
What's more important?
My concern for next week, if I could just say, is the offensive line. I mean, they
Yep.
only allowed 2 sacks, but they struggled. They didn't get a lot of pushes. in the
Keenum,
run
I
game,
thought
so that's-
Keenum. I expect Keenum next week to run more. He really didn't run it. He ran once or twice.
And he could have. He probably could have ran a few more times in this game. So that's a concern. I think the pass rush will be there next week. Philadelphia's line has been beat up as well. So I think next week they'll get after it a little bit more and get to Foles, which would be great.
Question on the line: did you like the line combination?
Well, I thought the line was
Guard and Rashad Hill as keeping him as the right tackle.
the line was
Hill's your weak link. I mean, and Remmers, I think, did a good enough job at left guard, but Hill's going to be Hill's the weak link. They probably don't have anybody else they trust at left guard, so it's kind of what you got to do. I'd be more comfortable with Remmers at right tackle, but I don't know what they do at left guard.
my favorite Remmers play was when he was offsides on the first fucking play of the last drive. Like a
Well, on that
shithead.
key drive,
Like a
they
shithead.
had the false start there to start that drive.
Stupid piece of shit.
Because Rashad Hill has played a lot this season because he filled in for Remmers, who missed half the season. So I like that, but I just don't know if.
Oh, you like that? You like that?
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. I really like that.
The new Vikings
I just don't
quarterback
know.
in 2018, Kirk Cousins.
Well, if they have a Super Bowl, then that's all I care about. By the way, I think if the Vikings win the Super Bowl, and I try not to think about this, I don't want to talk about it a lot, but do they put Saints-Vikings as the first game? I would hope not. I would hope they would save that game for mid-October.
Who do they play in the AFC next year? They play the Jaguars?
They play the Patriots at New England.
Nope. They
It would
play
either
the
be,
AFC East.
Packers or Saints.
I was going to say, it's got to be Packers, right? You
Packers
open
or
up
Saints.
playing Aaron Rodgers in his first game back after he missed a whole bunch of last year.
Yeah,
And I would hope-
they don't like the Super Bowl rematches after the Panthers and Broncos bit them in the ass 2 years ago.
No, but I think the Saints, I would hope they would keep that for a 3:25 mid-October game. That's early November. That's the ratings.
I believe this was the first afternoon game, right? 3:40 game, 3:30 game in U.S. Bank history. So,
Yep.
I don't think they had an afternoon game last year, and they did
They
this
did.
year.
They had 3 night games: Green Bay, Dallas, and
The Giants last year, right?
Giants. Yes, Monday night. So
Yeah. Who's more important to this team, Stefan to the Vikings or Thaddeus Young to the Wolves?
Thaddeus Young, not even close. I don't know.
dilly, we're on to Philly.
No comment.
Also, real fun on that note of Philadelphia and the Vikings playing. One of these two fan bases is going to have their NFL team lose next week and is going to scream at everyone that they are the most snake-bitten NFL franchise.
Well, I'm looking forward to it being Philly because it's like if it means the Vikings are going to get to the Super Bowl and they want to bitch about it, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Three of the 4 teams in the championship games next week have never won a Super Bowl. The other team is has a bunch of cheaters on it, so they don't count.
Cheating their dicks off out there.
I was none too concerned about this game.
You should have been. What have I been telling you, Crins? What have I been telling you?
You're kind of off your rocker, though. You're kind of crazy, so.
If it just took you until now to figure that out, Marcus.
I'm just repeating it for the 80th time on this show.
I was not too concerned about the game in the first quarter, 2.5 quarters. I was like, yeah, there's no reason to worry about this team because the defense is great. I am concerned next week because I don't think they're going to win because why the fuck would they win? I hope they do. I just don't think they're going to win.
This may not be the answer you're looking for. I think this is all setting up just so they can have a home playoff game and have their hearts ripped out by Tom Brady in his last game as a New England Patriot.
That definitely could happen.
And I would prefer to see the Vikings beat Philadelphia. Whoever's in the Super Bowl, assuming the Patriots beat the Jags, which maybe they won't, but I feel confident the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. I just want them not to win. And at 15, 16, however many years as a Dolphins fan watching Tom Brady, I don't know. This feels to me like Vikings win by 8 next week. They go to the Super Bowl. Everything's clicking their way. And then, okay, we got a 4-point lead. We got to kick it to Tom Brady with 2.5 minutes left. And it's just the most excruciating 2.5 minutes game time of everyone who's not a Patriots fan. I mean, I get it would be worse for Vikings fans, but just oh my God, not again, please.
This is my whole point I was trying to make last week or 2 weeks ago. If the Vikings are in the Super Bowl,
you gotta win it.
There'll be a relative happiness for me regardless because I will get to watch them in the Super Bowl. But if they're playing New England, you can't guarantee a win. It's just you got to roll the dice and see what happens. If they play Jacksonville, they have to win that game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they play New England, it's going to be tough. But
if they play Jacksonville, the final score might be 6-3.
Very well, good. One thing, because I just remember one thing right now.
Only one thing at a time for stacking.
That's
you can't
right.
be thinking too much.
Well, I'm on cloud 9 right now, and I might be checking into a Motel 6 later or Super 8, so I can't remember.
Oh, no.
Stacking's feasting in Valhalla right now.
Skull!
How long, Stacking, by the way, before you get too far down the line, how long did, I said 90 minutes, from the time you made the video to when the final play was made. How long did it take you to write the script for your video that you put online of you drinking Saints can? Because with the Dilly, we're going to Philly. With the the other line you had that I forgot.
Nope. Off the top of the head, except one of Kelsey's friends did say, "Dilly, we're going to Philly," so I did steal that. That's not an original Stacking trademark.
Content.
But I did come up with everything else right off the top of the head. I had to come up with a second script because I used the word "fuck" in the first one. Can't use "fuck."
Scrap the whole operation.
Second, quit fucking swearing on here.
God damn
it. Let me ask you a question here. What was more surprising? I'm trying to be
that you had a kid. That's the most surprising thing ever.
Agreed. But Stephon, that game-ending play for the Vikings, or the Jaguars putting up 45 points on the Steelers. Truly, what?
I know you're trying to be a smartass. I still think it might be the Jaguars scoring 45.
That was incredible.
That was incredible.
And especially after they only scored 10 points against the Buffalo Bills in
Jacksonville
last week.
They did put 30 up on them when they played them earlier in the year.
Yep.
They did get a defensive touchdown, which is what they got. 2 defensive touchdowns or something the first time they played them. I saw some stat the defense had scored 20 points against Pittsburgh this year. I don't know what the fuck happened. They scored points both games. The over-under in the game was 40. Both teams scored 40, for Christ's sake. This was a pretty fun game to watch. They got out to a big lead, almost pulled the Vikings. They ended up winning. I'm happy Jacksonville won. My problem is, though, Chuck, is that people now think the quarterback is good, which I just can't stand. Because they, at the end of the game, they're like, oh, all those Blake Bortles doubters, they say, fuck you now. I'm like, he had the long throw, 40, 50-yard throw. That was very good. When he runs, he's very good. Picked up a couple runs. First drive, he had 55 yards, and he was not good the rest for the next 2.5 quarters. First drives, he had a couple of good throws, and he had a couple, short throws to extend drives. So he did good. What do you have? 215 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. It's as we've seen with the play calling the last couple of weeks. Couple of Dixon Duncan, and let's not have this piece of shit turn the ball over, because if he doesn't, they got a pretty good chance to win. But I feel like this is the best example of the team won. He's the quarterback of the team. They did put up 45 points, which was impressive, and he did have a touchdown in there. But to say, oh, Blake Bortles, I mean, he's not turning the ball over. If he doesn't turn the ball, he is the ultimate game manager. They're not going to put the ball in his saying, all right, go 80 yards in 2 minutes and win us this game. So I think
Look at that pass to Cole there at the end.
I know, that was a good pass. 40, 50 yards in there.
And the pass to Marquise Lee.
They had a couple good ones. He was like, 14 of 24, 14 of 26. It was like he played as well. For him, that's like pretty goddamn good.
But early on, he was 3 of 4 for 53 yards. They used play-action passing a lot, and I think that really confused the Steelers early on. They're like, okay, we're just going to see a lot of Leonard Fournette, maybe some T.J. Yeldon.
I don't understand why, but here's the thing. I don't understand how they were fooled 3 straight plays on that. I realize you think Jackson was going to run it, but I was watching. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Because
Pittsburgh's bad. Pittsburgh's defense is very bad.
It did. They exposed that in a big way. The Pittsburgh's defense is just not very good. I would also like to say you got to give a lot of credit, I think, to Jacksonville, just like in the play calling department. If you want to reference the
running the ball a lot, little short throws, those are good ideas.
That little what I would call pop pass to the fullback there for the touchdown.
Awesome play.
That was great. Yeah, that was great.
Also, on Krinz's point, I kind of like that there's one of my 3 favorite things in sports, maybe, is the idea that if, someone has a negative narrative about them in sports, that, just one game that's not a Super Bowl is, going to change it. He's not good, and then one game they're good, they're like, oh, my God, he's a good quarterback now, guys. We were wrong the whole time. Where it's like, no, this is, a sustained thing. If all it takes is one game to be good, you would have all these NBA guys that would be Hall of Famers because of their 140-point game. When their career, they averaged 8.5.
I was watching that game and I was thinking, is Blake Bortles elite? I was just let's have the Joe Flacco debate. Let's get the meter out and let's have the debate about Blake Bortles. Is he elite or not?
I'm maybe jumping the gun a little bit on this here, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a fascinating team to watch this offseason because there is always the possibility that Ben Roethlisberger retires.
He'll be there.
Le'Veon Bell isn't going to sign the franchise tag. At least he says that. He won't sign it again. He'll retire. So they're going to have to come to a long-term deal with him. The Steelers dynasty, as we know it, the Killer Bees. This could be the last game we ever see from them, and then you're going to see a complete, a change. New England's going to die eventually. The AFC is going to be wide open here within a few years, I imagine.
I think Roethlisberger will play. They had a thing on him in the pregame. I think he'll play till he's probably 40. 3-4 more years.
He rapes another Georgia woman.
Look at you, just throwing bombs like you wouldn't believe. I agree with that wholeheartedly, though.
Case Keenum.
Why's he got to be from Georgia, Stackin'?
I'll be right back.
Get another beer.
So,
also, though, it is kind of interesting that the AFC had all these great quarterbacks for the last 15 years, and they're all getting old or retired, and
there's not a
it
whole lot
seems like
coming
the
up.
NFC has been sort of rebuilding, and we got some teams that are good now. Where the AFC is yep, Roethlisberger and Brady, you guys need to do stuff because all we got right now.
Not a whole lot.
Although who knows? Maybe the Jaguars will win the Super Bowl.
That'd be awful. That would be awful. As long as they don't beat the Vikings. If the Eagles are in, I said this in the chat. The Eagles, that's just bad. If the Eagles are there,
Stackin's ratings watch.
Oh my
Eagles
heavens.
Jaguars Super Bowl might be the least watched Super Bowl of our lifetimes.
If the Eagles are in there, I hope they get. Obviously, I will go for the AFC team.
I was thinking, watching that game today, that the Jaguars helmet, I know some people are kind of hit or miss with the two-tone,
It's got to be all black.
two-color helmet.
All black.
I think their helmet would be good if they went all gold. They've never had all gold, right? They've always been black.
Yeah.
I think they should consider that. Go with just the gold. It would have been a good look today.
I thought
Someone was clearly lazy when they originally made that helmet. They painted it half gold and said, I need a beer. This half gold, half black looks pretty good.
Well, it was a black helmet, and they ran out of the gold spray paint. And just figured, if we just tell them that this is what we plan to do, maybe we can sell them all this way.
Funny story, I do have a Jaguars Christmas ornament.
Jaguars.
I did really like their old helmets. Those were probably my favorite helmets. Those were pristine. So Jacksonville wins. I mean, Blake Bortles was atrocious last week against Buffalo. And then here we are, like late third, early fourth, and he's got similar numbers. He still doesn't have 100 yards. And it's like,
fuck. 96 yards.
And it's like, fuck, man, this is bad. So this narrative of, ooh, look at this guy. It's like, I want to see what type of, they didn't pick up his option, so I want to see what type of fucking contract he gets. If he stays there, I mean, I would look for another guy.
Who's the starting quarterback week 1 for the Jaguars?
I don't know.
Eli Manning, Kirk Cousins, Blake Bortles, or other?
Fuck, probably.
Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
Bortles, honestly.
Probably him, but honestly, Vikings could have a different starter. Eagles Eagles probably have Nick Foles, but again, these quarterbacks. I mean, what a fucking shit. Case Keenum, Charlie, at the beginning of the season, if I told you the last 4 quarterbacks, Brady, Bottles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles, you say, what the fuck happened? Did 28 other teams get in plane crashes and all die?
I would have thought something like that. I would have been quite surprised. And maybe the best thing is, of all this happenstance to right now, it gives us the stat that the Jaguars and Blake Bortles have now won more playoff games in the last 8 days than the Cowboys have in the last 20 years.
That is great. That is fantastic. That is very good. So yeah, that was good games. Good games on Saturday. Or Saturday, yeah. Saturday was bad. Saturday was no good. Sunday was good.
Well, the Eagles-Falcons game was okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was fun.
Can I just ask what the Falcons were doing those last 4 plays? First and goal from the 9? That's the worst play calling I've seen in a long time.
I didn't see it. It was recorded. I don't care to go back to why. I saw their last drive. I saw it in about, 2 minutes, just fast forwarding through the thing. And the play before that, it's like this big 13-yard run to get to the 9. And I'm like, they don't run the ball again after this. I'm like, what the fuck is? They had timeouts. They had plenty of time. They're at the 9-yard line. And it's like
Freeman had 10 carries for 7 yards, and Tevin Coleman had 9 carries for 79 yards. Give him the damn ball inside the 10.
Yeah, and at that point, I was kind of following along, looking at the score. I'm like, ooh, I would really like to be playing Atlanta next week at home. I would prefer to play them than Philadelphia, because Atlanta did not appear to play well.
I mean, the Vikings won on the final play, so that's fine.
It's very good.
Yeah, but Texas is back.
Good.
Thanks a lot, Tom Herman.
Shaka Smart.
Shaka Smart.
Do better, you piece of shit.
So, let me ask you this. And I don't know what this would have done to the Vikings this year, today. But the Eagles beating the Falcons, had the Falcons won, would that have applied any extra pressure on the Vikings? Because I say it would have. And I don't know if the outcome would have changed any at all today, because the Vikings still won by. I have to imagine, had the Falcons won, there would have been a lot more pressure on knowing that they would be able to play the championship game at home.
I would say regardless of who they play or where they play it next week, I mean, just the fact that the Super Bowl is at home in 3 weeks, I don't care who they play or where they play it, just the fact that game, they can get to that game and then it's at home, I'd say that's pressure enough regardless of if they're at Philadelphia or if they're at home versus Atlanta. So that is where we stand now, folks. Any other thoughts as hour 10, and it's quite a deal. Quite a fucking deal.
And all the best things I said. Oh, Dr. Sparks back.
Oop. Okay.
All the nice things, it's still there.
Febreze, get fucked.
I like it. Okay. Good.
Profanity so nice. Stacken wanted to hear it twice. Echo's still there.
Fuck me. How about now? Echo, echo, boom. Echo, echo, bye.
Echo or no, I'll just get this out.
That's worse.
Vikings defense and Jaguars defense, both really good. I see a lot of similarities in terms of super athletic, talented dudes.
Let me try it one more time. Marcus, final thoughts.
Texas is back.
I don't think it's going away.
And
There's a better. I don't think it's going away. Now I can't hear any. I can't hear it at all. So we're in one of those deals again. So when I did this last week, it didn't pick it up. So we'll do it live. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Yep. I can't hear. So I can't hear anybody else. So this will be the end of the program. End of the program. I don't even think this is. Maybe it's picking up a little bit there. Okay. So yeah, Vikings Eagles late game next week. So I'll probably do a show 9:30 or so. We can hear you. The echo's gone for us. Well, fuck. And Jacksonville Patriots, Stacking is drunk, concur with that. Marcus says, we'll see ya. Yeah, Jacksonville, New England. I think the defense is going to have to play pretty well if Jacksonville wants to win. And Vikings won. Goddamn Vikings won. Very exciting. Unlikely. One game away again. Charlie likes it. I think that's, New England Vikings. That would be exciting. So, again, we for the fourth time in our lives, Stacking, Vikings are playing a game to get to the Super Bowl. They lost the first three, two of them in heartbreaking fashion. Today's game was setting up exactly like the other one. So we'll see you next week here. It was a good one. Fourth time is the charm. I would say yes. For Stackin's kid, for Stackin's wife, it was the Stackin Show number 237, podcast and all. We'll see you.